Good day, everybody, and thank you so much again for coming and joining us for another podcast of Splints and Whiskey. My name is Liz Arts, and I am super psyched to be here, able to host but not moderate this awesome rendition and this awesome episode of Splints and Whiskey. Today, we have the opportunity to talk to two exemplary um, police officers to say the least, but law enforcement professionals that are going to come and talk to you. One from the great city of Chicago, Chi Town, my favorite city. I've run a lot of your marathons and played a lot of music in your town, so I'm super stoked about that. And secondly, from New York City, NYPD. And so I am thrilled because we have both of you guys together. So today we have two guests with us. We have Mr. Brian Bardsley is from Chicago, Illinois. We also have Mr. Andy Burchett. Andy Burchett is from New York City, and from the five boroughs where he has served for both of these guys for numerous decades. So I'm excited to have them introduce themselves. Prior to us starting, I wanted to thank our sponsor. Our sponsor for this podcast is we're Splints and Whiskey. The sponsor of this podcast is Life Autonomous Care Consultants, LACC Inc.com. The best way to find anything that you're looking for under that is under www.thelizarts.com. That kind of gives you the whole family underneath the entities of who we serve and our community. But Life Autonomous Care Consultants is our sponsor, and they sell anything from hemostatic gauze up to IFACs to robotic to mannequins to AR/VR to anything that you could use and utilize for combat training, trauma training, as well as hospital medical simulation. So thank you, LACC. If you guys are looking for something, LACC Inc., you can certainly reach out to them and they will provide you with your needs. So after that shameless plug, I want to pass it over to our awesome guest. And I'm going to first ask Mr. Andy Burchett. Andy, you've been on the show once before, but in case the listeners did not know you, please give us your background, and then we're going to pass it over to Brian and have Brian give our listeners his background as well. And then we're going to get into an awesome conversation about what it's like to be on the streets today. What was training like in the past? What is training and what does real life look like now, right? And then we're going to talk about some specific situations that I myself have zero experience with, but I can't wait to hear what you can share with our listeners so that they can become better medics, better corpsmen, and better first responders. All right. So, Andy, please take it away. Introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are and how you got to be to who you are today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Liz. Thank you for having me back. What a pleasure to be here. We're in store for a great show. Brian has an amazing background. But first, let me tell you about me. My name is Andy Burchett, CEO of Flying Aces Enterprise and Consulting. For my shameless plug, basic background of myself, I spent 27 years in the New York City Police Department, where I retired as detective. 20 of those years I spent in the Emergency Service Unit, which you're aware of is a specialized unit specializing in tactics as well as rescue. With that, I served on the FEMA team, deployed internationally. I do a ton of international missions as well as uh, deploying internationally for speaking engagements, consulting, both on the job and off the job. While I was there, I ran the medical training school for the department as well as for the unit, where we hosted multiple agencies specializing in tactical medicine, training EMTs. I also ran the tactical medic program for the unit, where we obviously, I guess, like the corpsmen, supplied our own medical support within the hot zone during high visibility jobs and high end tactical jobs and through training. Prior to that, I ran EMS. I ran the ambulance around probably the murder capital of the world in the 7-5 precinct when it was still New York City EMS, and spent a little time with the volunteer fire department. But that's just a little piece of my background. Brian's background is amazing. I'm really looking forward to tonight's conversation and hearing some great stories, and finding the both of us and concentrating the majority of our career in training to be able to make everybody else better, and probably learning by mistakes. So hopefully we can avoid some of the mistakes and help you think outside the box. Without ado, Brian, please introduce yourself. Thrilled to have you here.
Glad to be here. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. It's always a pleasure for me to be able to kind of reach out and talk to people. I was telling Liz, I kind of got a little imposter syndrome thing going on. I was looking at some of the past podcasts, and I'm going to try to hold my own out here. So my background's fairly basic. Started my adult life, if you want to call it that, in the Marine Corps. I was 17, from 88 to 94. Did some time in the 1st Battalion, 4th Marines, deployed in support of Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm, a little tiny piece of that, and then an even smaller piece of Somalia later. Got out, moved to Chicago. I'm not sure why, but here I am. And I miss being in uniform almost immediately. So I decided to go back in the Army Reserve as a medic. I was attached to the 814th MP Company in Rosemont, just outside of Chicago. Fell in love with medicine, really just loved it. Got a job on a private ambulance as an EMT basic, kind of got the feel for the profession. Went to paramedic school in 98 at Loyola University Medical Center. I went to the fire academy after that and did what we called contract firefighter paramedic for a few years until 2004. Got called up by the Chicago Fire Department. I was a single role paramedic. I was attached to Ambulance 10, which we called the Bone Crusher, and it was the busiest ambulance in the United States. It is most years, and it was the year that I was on it. And after about 9 or 10 months of getting my teeth kicked in on that rig, I decided it was time to move on to something else. And the Chicago Police Department called. So cross-stacked over to there. Was a very basic 15th District West Side police officer. That's a rough district, but it's a good place to learn. And then 2006, nation being at war, I re-enlisted in the Illinois Army Guard. I deployed to Iraq as a medic attached to a rifle company, Alpha, 1st of the 178 Infantry, to Baghdad during the surge. Got a Bronze Star, a combat medic badge, and a whole new appreciation for tactical medicine. Learned a lot of stuff in a lot of different places, a lot of different things in that year. Got back, they moved me to the training academy. Super lucky to be there. Not a lot of guys with my time on the job got to go to the academy. I taught a little bit of everything. I was a utility infielder, and it was awesome. I got to teach marksmanship with rifle, pistol, shotguns, the whole thing. Got to teach medicine. Got to be a homeroom instructor, kind of a drill instructor sort of thing. Got to do a lot of really cool stuff while I was there. And then in 2013, they weren't happy with how the medical program was being run on the SWAT team, and they brought me over to revamp that. My partner, Brendan Harford, and I kind of put that whole thing back on the right again. So in addition to being the medical team leader for the team, I'm also the WMD team leader. And in the interest of transparency, I like to put out there that, kind of like you were saying, I'm not an operator. I'm not one of the door kicker guys, much like the military does, pulling specialty medical personnel in. That's my function, is to go. Now, I am fully trained, fully equipped, fully everything else, but my mission is to provide training for the team and then operational medical support for both their training operations and their operational stuff, whether that was the riots in 2020, high-risk search warrants, barricade jobs, whatever else. I get to go to a lot of them. So I've been very, very lucky in my career. But the one thing you said that I just want to touch on, if I can just take a couple of minutes real quick, was I was interviewing for a job after I retire, hopefully next year, 21 years on the job. And I was thinking about the thread that attached everything that I've done in my life. And I think being a teacher is really the thing that I do better than anything else. Kind of everywhere I've gone, that's been a role I've kind of fell into, and I really, really enjoy it. So hopefully that's why I like doing these kind of podcasts, and hopefully if I can put one little piece of information or one little trick or one little whatever to give somebody a hand, I feel like then I've kind of carried my weight a little bit. So once again, appreciate the opportunity.
Oh my gosh.
Thrilled to have you here. Thrilled to have you here. And at risk of cutting off Liz, is about you. I want the audience to hear how amazing your career has been. Again, thank you for your service. I think it's important to contribute to education. It's a niche, and like you said, a love that I found. I think guys respond to it because you're genuine, you're battle tested, and you think outside the box. with just a brief background that you gave me, I know what it's like just to kind of go through and look, I would love to still boom doors and go through. And I found as I got, further into my career, I got relied on more medically, and the guys believe in you. When you're pulling somebody off the door or when you have in the classroom, you're not going to let them leave until they're comfortable, because it might be somebody's mother, somebody's brother or sister, another uniformed member of service that they're contributing to saving their life. And to not be comfortable is unacceptable. And I don't think you can measure the heart and the care that you're pouring out for wanting them to learn. I think that's a tremendous in an educator. And my hat's off to you again, sir. I promise I'll shut up. I said I want them to hear about you and your stories.
Mm. No, but I love that. If you don't mind me interrupting, Andy, it seems to me that you also found that love, and early on when we were talking, we said that you guys were like two peas in a pod prior to us recording, that you're like two peas in a pod. Both of you guys were really drawn to building programs for your own units and then your own cities, right? And so what do you think it was that drew you to, you love having your boots on the ground, right? But what was it that was instilled in you, Andy? This is for you first, to say, gosh, I want to create a curriculum. I want to make it bigger. I want to make it stronger. What did that for you?
I think I was very blessed to go into a field that I always wanted to go into. I grew up, for the older listeners, I think Brian's close. I'm going to give him the age button though. I grew up watching Emergency, Gage and DeSoto, and all I wanted to do was hang rope rescues in the mountains and help people. After I got into EMS, I had a lot of amazing people take me under their wings. It was sticker shock for me. I'm sure a lot like Brian going into Chicago. I went into the 7-5 precinct in the New York City Police Department, where the motto there was, you give us 22 minutes, we'll give you a homicide. I grew up in Long Island where it was calm, happy, everybody played ball. My second day there, I had 9 people shot on Jamaica Avenue. I didn't know people really got shot. And I had so many people that went and saw something in me to better me, and I wanted to be able to share that. And with the comfort and the experience and the ability and the opportunity to do it, I ended up with some amazing people and being able to develop programs that, God willing, saved lives and helped. I do regret not serving the military. My hat's off again to Brian for all of our military listeners. I kind of took the cheap way out. I beat myself up through the ghetto and came up. But my hat's off to all the military responders and a lot of the work and the what's the word I'm looking for? The ability to have, like, I was very lucky in the city of New York, and I'm sure like parts of Chicago, we have trauma centers and hospitals very close in any direction. I talked to a lot of providers, both law enforcement and EMS, where, oh yeah, it's only 45 minutes to a trauma center.
Yeah.
It might be 30, 40 minutes for us, but that's from traffic. To me, those guys are amazing. Guys and gals, amazing to be able to keep people alive. Brian,
How
your
about
thoughts?
you, Brian? How about you? What was it that drew you to that? Because I think it's an innate skill that just happens. But what drew you to that? I mean, my gosh, you not only taught medicine, but you also taught basically infantry. That's not the best word I could use, but you basically taught the gunnery and all those things as well. What do you think that led you to the training aspect of wanting to be the teacher?
Well, I think, I kind of share with what Andy was saying. If I see further, it's because I stand on the shoulders of giants. Like, if everything that I am today, everything I've ever done is based on the fact that people took me under their wing and trained me. And I had some incredible mentors, Pete Lazar. There's a few other people on the Chicago Fire Department that were just legendary that I learned so much from. And as a little bit of an aside on this, people ask you all the time if you're afraid in combat, if you're afraid on a barricade, if you're afraid on whatever. And I'm not going to tell you that I didn't have a fear of getting hurt. But for me, my main fear rather, kind of gave it away. My main fear has always been failure of the mission, especially as a medic. Like, when you're attached to a rifle company or you're attached to a team, when you're doing EMS and you don't know people, that's hard enough. But when you're working on people that you know and you care about that are wearing the same uniform, I was always, and I still am to this day, terrified that something's going to happen and I wasn't good enough. And I never failed that challenge yet, knock on wood. And I was so appreciative of the people that taught me that I wanted to be the next person. I wanted to take the people that are coming up behind me and give them the same lessons and the same training and hopefully the same outcomes that I got. I kind of have the gift of gab. I'm a good BSer. So it kind of teaching that helps a little bit, that you can get out there and you can whatever. But at the end of the day, I did a ton of it. And it just was one of the things where it started off coming out of paramedic school and it just snowballed from there. And everywhere I went, I gravitated towards teaching. I enjoyed it. And again, I felt like, you know, you feel like you want to make a mission doing what you're doing. You want to have a success. But I feel like if I can reach out to people in classes and I can work on, you know, again, not just tactics, not just, you know, whatever, pieing rooms, which I don't do anymore. But if I can teach people about, you know, X March and phases of care and all these other things, but also about mental health, things like that too, being I never wanted to get old, and here I am. And sometimes you feel like as the elder warrior that you can start passing down things that only an elder warrior can say. And I think that's important as well, that you can be that person who can take younger guys, you put your arm around their shoulder and tell them, hey man, you know, I've been there. I know, you know, I kind of know what you're going through. So I think that's important too. And I've tried to develop into that role and never holding the rank, like I talked about. I've studiously avoided promotions as much as I possibly can, and I'm happy with my boots in the ground. But I think a lot of time leadership has nothing to do with what you have on your collar.
Yeah.
I've known a lot of people with a lot of stuff on their
100%.
collar that couldn't lead a bunch of kids to a candy store, and I've known people that were backstep guys on an engine or number 3 in a stack that were people that you'd stack your life on any day of the week. So, you know, that's kind of what my thought process was. I want to give back to the people that gave to me and that made me and gave me the opportunities to do the things I did. I want to give other people that opportunity as well. And hopefully they'll have the same good fortune that I had in my career.
Oh, that's good. That's a good answer. You know, one
Fantastic.
thing that Andy actually said to me one day is that one of his favorite mottos is that he is not going to give you a hand out, but a hand up.
100%. Yep. Well, there's
I
a
think that's
classic
important.
PTSD story where the guy, he's in a hole, he's in a deep hole in PTSD, and you know, in a doctor walks by and he goes, oh, you know, analyze, you know, get yourself out of there, analyze yourself and get out of there, or you know, somebody goes, oh, just, you know, another person, just, you know, just whatever, man, get over it, you know, and all these people walk by him, and then finally another vet jumps in the hole with him, and the guy's like, what are you doing? Now we're both in here, and the guy tells him, I've been here before and I know how to get out. I'll take you out.
No, love that.
And that's,
Love
I mean, I think sometimes you got to have a little bit of, you know, a little bit of salt on your camis to be able to be that guy that doesn't just hand out random advice, but you can jump in that hole with somebody and you can help them out. And not just the mental health stuff, but with everything, with the whole spectrum of stuff that we teach and the things that we do.
Now, I think it's so important. I have so many thoughts and I have so many questions for you. Liz won't give us the 8 hours that I requested. I keep asking. I always try to teach my students, you know what, be the guy that shows up like, woo, Andy's here. Not, ooh, Andy's here. And,
Yes.
and I'm just using my name as that. Whoever comes in, we get on that stack. You're lined up on the door on a barricade. You're, you know, with the military or any high level, potentially injury creating job. You start looking around and sizing guys up. Now is not the time for training, right?
Yep.
Die 1,000 times in training so you get it right, because you don't have to think. It should be coming as instinct, right? And with that, you just have to be prepared to think out of the box. And just
Yep.
one last add-on from what you said. I love everything you said. Stand next to me, you'll never stand alone, right? If you go, we go. I'm going to do everything within my power to make sure that you live, whether it's on a medical aspect, a tactical aspect. We put out so much for strangers. How can we not for our fellow comrades, for our, you know, responders on our left and right, male and female, right? Anything less than 4,000% is unacceptable.
Yep,
And
absolutely.
sadly, sometimes we can't walk on water, and we know that. That's a tough pill to swallow.
I've had, for all the awards and decorations and accolades that I've gotten, I've had two people in my career, one in Iraq and one on the SWAT team, tell me similar things. When we were heading home from Iraq, I had a platoon sergeant tell me, he goes, I just wanted you to know that when you were out with my guys, I knew they were going to be okay. And that was worth more than anything. And I had somebody on the SWAT team that I have an enormous amount of respect tell me the same thing. Like, listen, when I look back and I see you in the back of the stack with your aid bag, I'm willing to push a little bit harder, a little bit further. I know my guys are going to be taken care of, and that's the goal that you want. You can put as much bling on your chest as you want, and I have mad respect for people who get those higher level decorations. But at the end of the day, being doc isn't a compliment; it's a responsibility. And three things have been called in my life that mean more to me than anything in the world: Marine, doc, and dad. And all three of those things required an enormous amount of dedication on my part, and anything less than success is unacceptable on all those. And I want my guys to know, and I think they do, that I will come for you no matter what. And I have not been easy on myself. You will not die because I didn't put the work in to study. And that's how we inculcate that into all of our medics, even the operators. We kind of took the Ranger Regiment as our exemplar on the team, that you have Ranger medics and you have the Ranger first responders and whatever else. So we kind of built a team where everybody has that capability. But when I'm on the back of the stack, I got you. Like, and the other paramedics, man, 100%. We know what we're doing. We're going to come. We're going to get you out of there. And if you have a chance to get out of there alive, you're going to. It will not be because we were unprepared, physically, mentally, emotionally, anything. And it's draining. It's a draining thing to put that on yourself.
But you know what? There's no better applause than your own men knowing.
That's it.
I know the feeling. They look back like, all right, again, no active combat, no military, but going through bad scenes or jobs that, like, no, if you're not here, we're not going. Like, well, I'm sending so and so. They're new. Like, nope, no good. We'll just go without. Like, no, that's not an option. So the comfort level, and just real quick, because I keep stealing your time. I'm sorry.
No, please do.
No, God, no. You have an amazing
Andy,
ride that I need to hear more about.
It's a conversation.
This
is perfect. I love this.
It's I totally lost. I had so many things that you had said. The feeling you get. I've gotten so many calls from guys that I trained or operated with. Like one, I think, and I'm confident you have, if not multiple stories, the same. Guys calling me up after teaching, like, "Hey man, my kid's alive because of you."
Yes.
What? Like, yeah, this happened and that happened. Like, no, your kid's alive because of you, right? You took the time. You took the time to listen to me. You believed in me. I gave you all the. You did what needed to be done with your child, right? There's no worse job. It's bad enough when guys are grabbing your ankle. Don't let me die, Andy. Don't let me die. We put that in a lot of training. You're going to run into somebody someday that knows your name, that you went out with, that you're buddies with. You sat at the dinner table with their family. Like you said, now it's just not a faceless body. Like, oh, I got to do the best I can because I'm a medic. And no, this becomes personal. And to have guys come up and bring back, to me, if I never made another dollar again, or people alive, because I contributed to it. And I know you did. And all the evolutions. I love doing tactics. I love teaching and helping out with that. Just to contribute to, I hope I teach you something that helps you live or somebody else live.
Yeah, 100%. That's what you're in it for. And again, if I get no other accolades in my life, if I'm never a millionaire, and I tell people this, if Elon Musk came to me with this crazy contraption that he could slap on my head and he would suck out all my memories of being a medic, and in return he would give me $500 million, I would not trade it for anything. I wouldn't. There's nothing in the world you could trade for what I've done in my life and the connections I've made. And again, you'll never read my name in a newspaper. You're never going to see me. I'm never going to be on Chicago Hope or Chicago whatever. I'm not going to be a guest star anywhere. Yeah, but you know what? The people that need to know my name, and people that I will never meet. And that's kind of the weird thing, being a cop versus being a paramedic. People ask me all the time, what's the difference? Firefighter, paramedic, police officer. And one of the main reasons is that nobody really flashes police officers. All right, probably shouldn't have said that. But anyway, one of the big differences is
I didn't hear nothing.
As a firefighter, As a firefighter paramedic, you know who you helped. Hey, your house caught on fire. Put your house out. You're welcome. Your kid having an asthma attack. I helped them. You're welcome. Being a cop, you never know. You never know. The guy you arrested may have, whatever, attacked 4 more people afterwards if you didn't get them. You have to get used to the idea that you help people that maybe you're never going to know about. And I have heard about some stories where people have called me up and been like, wow, that glass I took 3 weeks ago, I was out hunting and my buddy shot him, whatever, and he's alive, and thank you. And I'm like, oh, you're welcome. But he's also a lot of the people out there that you're never going to hear about. And that's, again, as you think that couldn't get a hold of you, or whatever else. And again, I try to check my ego as much as I possibly can, because at the end of the day, it's not about, it's not my glory, it's his. You know what I mean? It's the powers that be, it's the Lord. That's who I credit with this stuff too. And if I happen to be the conduit, that's great. But the mission at the end is the thing. And I feel like as long as we can go out there and put that information out there, well, I think that I think that's where the money's. That's the juice. That's, if you're in it for accolades or medals, or you want to be on TV shows, then I think maybe you're in the wrong place. Maybe you're in the wrong job.
Well, can I ask
So
you
I've been on a lot of TV. I'm going to defend myself being a Manhattan guy. I can't help it. Although I have a face for radio, I apologize.
Listen, I'm actually on the TV a lot in the background, because being the medic, I'm usually not going in. So they take a picture of a SWAT guy by the Bearcat. It's always me. But I'm the guy who does the least on the stack. But I'm talking about if you want to be the guy who's like on a TV star, a TV show, or whatever else, then yeah, you know what, man? Maybe.
No, it's a big difference. It's a big difference. Like I said, it's when the guys around you believe in you, there is no better medal or award or confidence given.
Yep. 100%.
That is the ultimate. That is the ultimate.
That's what you're there for.
I used to have a neighbor make fun of me. He was telling me a story one day. There was a problem on my block. I'm like, oh, wow, that sounds pretty interesting. Somebody had a shotgun that was shooting. I lived all the way out east, my ex-wife and kids. And he's like, you scare me. Like, I scare you? Why do I scare you? He's like, well, you don't tell stories. Like, I don't tell stories. I'm like, what do you do for a living? You're a mechanic, right? Like, you ever come home and tell me, whoo, you had to hear about this transmission job I had today, Andy? It was crazy. Sit down, grab a beer. I got to tell you about this. I'm like, the guys that know what I'm capable of, that's all it needs to know. Like you said, I don't need the accolades. I don't need the medals. I need them to look over their shoulder and feel good that they're going into a potential battle that I have their back and they're comfortable, as we go through as operators or whatever level where they're operating at. You become a positive to the team, not a negative. And again, that comes through training, education, practice, open-mindedness. Not every job has that perfect outcome.
No.
Sometimes they dynamically change, right? What is it? I think it's the military. The best laid plans go to crap in the first 10 seconds.
Yep. Your plan will not survive first contact with the enemy.
Okay, so I have a question here. So it's so interesting. So you guys are telling some very killer high level stuff, right? So for the younger person in tenure, in the role that you guys started as, right? The younger person in tenure, then I want to ask you, please explain to me, how has your training, so it's two part, how is your training and how has your job requirements changed in the past 23, 30 years? And when I say 23 with Brian, it's only 23 with CPD. I mean, he's had, prior to that, he had all the military time, right? So
EMT, paramedic, sure, yep.
Right. So how is it changed? Because ultimately you guys have had to evolve and change because you're the instructors. Who wants to go first? Brian.
Okay, I'll go first. So a couple of things. First off, I've got to do some cool guy EMS stuff. So that not a lot of people get to do, but I want to tell you 100%, some of the best medicine I've ever practiced in my life was holding an old lady's hand in the back of the ambulance, going to a hospital from a nursing home. I'm just going to tell you some of the most emotionally fulfilling, I think some of the best work I did in my entire life was on a private ambulance as an EMT basic at 2 o'clock in the morning when some woman was scared going to the hospital. If you lose track of that, if you chase the cool guy, cool gal accolades, you're going to miss the entire point of the evolution. From my very first day doing medicine up to this very day, I think you have to have a certain amount of compassion, respect for the profession, and that will never change. Whether you are an EMT basic on a private ambulance or you are a Air Force PJ on a helicopter or you're whatever, it doesn't change. You have to have a ruthless desire to be as good as you can possibly be. Never let your scope of practice limit your scope of knowledge is one thing my partner Brendan Hartford always said that I loved. And the other thing that he said is that knowledge weighs nothing in your aid bag. You can never have too much of that. You should always be ruthlessly pursuing the best you can be at the level you're at. I would not be a good paramedic if I was not a good EMT. I would not be a good tactical medic if I was not a good paramedic. And again, these are things you can learn these lessons from anywhere. There doesn't have to be a pedigree where a super cool guy has to teach you this skill. I learned some of those best lessons from salty EMT basics who've been on a private rig for 18 years that had dropped some pearls of knowledge that I remember to this day. So again, I think you talk about the change in things, and there are changes, procedures that change. Obviously, when I went to paramedic school in 98, if you had a trauma, what do you do to them? 2 large bore needles. In the left and right ACs running 0.9 normal saline wide open. And I remember pushing 5 liters of fluid into a dude in 1999. I mean, dude, he was bleeding Kool-Aid. But that was we were taught to do that. Now we talk about permissive hypotension. So things will change. Doctrines will change. The idea of, phases of care in the tactical medical world, XMARCs versus ABCs, these things will change, but those are the easy things. Those are just your policies and procedures. And you're going to have to keep up with those as time goes on. And I'm an old dog now. One of my guys just graduated from paramedic school, and he can run circles around me on, all the new stuff that's going on out there. I remember literally putting lube on paddles and shocking people. And this guy looked at me like I was talking about dumping leeches on people. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, I think you have to ruthlessly keep up with the information that's out there. But the main thing is you have to keep up with yourself. Like, you can't take the easy road no matter what level you're at. And every level you're at is important. Every level you're at, it's important to that person. To that lady, to that 97-year-old woman at 2 o'clock in the morning, she was the most important person in her world. And I owed it to her to treat her like that. So whether you're a bad guy who got shot, you're one of my guys who get shot, you're a 98-year-old woman, you get my best no matter what. You deserve my best. And have I always given my best? I'm human. And I regret the times that I haven't, but that's been something in my life I've always tried to remember, is that I have to be ruthlessly competent in all things, because at the end of the day, EMS is one of those jobs where you bury your mistakes. And you never get that first chance to make a second chance to make a first impression with people either. So that's my take on it. I think, it's easy to keep up with the medicine. That's just going to CE and going to classes and doing whatever else. But keeping your headspace and timing right in what the responsibilities you have, I think that's the key. No matter what you do, whether you're a big city person, little town, whatever it is your role is important, and you need to treat it as such. That's my thought.
Oh my God, that's amazing. And I have about 15 comments from that, but I'm going to ask you, Andy, the same question.
So I love the answer. I am so on the same page. I think we probably have the same parents, as I keep talking more to Brian. For the younger, I think I look at it and I try to teach everybody, it's someday you will be a dinosaur, just not today, and be careful what you wish for. Everybody has day one. We all did. Everybody on this call, everybody watching this podcast, everybody getting in that fire truck, in that police car, in the ambulance for the first time, for the first week, right? Like Brian said, think about your basics, right? I'm a huge fan of psychological first aid, right? Just letting them feel human. As a cop and a medic, I've gotten, roughed up after jobs like, you're not a cop. What do you mean I'm not a cop? Like, oh, you're way too nice. I'm like, what do you want me to do? Beat up the old lady? She's lost or she's hurt. She needs caring. She needs support. That's what we're there for. And that can be hard sometimes. Like Brian said, when you're not in the right frame of mind, you have to kind of put yourself in that frame of mind. I'm huge on a bedside manner, right? Because that's going to help them. And I'll go to the PD side for a second. If you look at your audience, right, if you're not law enforcement, when was the last time you got pulled over, right? Think about it. Don't answer, don't comment, but you can give me every aspect of it. Oh, this cop was tall. He yelled at me. He took my license and threw it. He was wearing a blue shirt with blue pants. Now put that in the EMS world, right? That's just another job in between coffees to you. But to that family, when you come take their loved one, the medic came in or the EMT came in and they were so professional and they gave my mother comfort. They held her hand. They went out of their way to cover her up and make her warm and make sure she was comfortable. That's your job, right? It's great to do your job, but it's okay to care. You're in a caring position. Would you put your loved one in a healthcare facility and just have the staff come by and sling a pudding at her or him? No, you want them, hey, let me open this for you. Let me take care of it. That's what, 15, 20 seconds out of your life? What does that do to the patient? They are going to remember you forever, right? 10 years from then when their loved one passes away, right? Oh, remember that medic that came, that EMT, that nice boy, that nice lady? She was so good. He was so nice, right? That's what we're there for. And it's hard sometimes, like Brian said, to keep that mindset going, but you have to. And I think a lot of the changes, I remember coming in and being taught like a robot. Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. State your name. My name is Andy. I'm, paramedic from New York City MS. I'm here to help you. I go in now, use your personality, right? Think independently. Woo, what a great place. How you doing, Toots? Everything feeling all right? And that inside banner, hello, Mrs. Johnson. How are you feeling today? My name is Andy. I'm a paramedic. I hear there's a problem. How can I help you? What are you doing? You have less than 15 to 20 seconds to endear yourself so much with that patient. They're going to tell you things they don't tell their pet, right? And that's our job to derive that out of them because we want the best care for them, even once we transfer patient care, right? Be a human. Be a human. Never lose sight of that, right? And listen to the salty dogs. I always say they're teaching you stuff when they're chewing food. Shut your mouth and listen. You don't know everything. We all think we do. I did too. I'm sure Brian and Liz thought they did too. We don't, right? Somebody's always stronger, faster, quicker, right? Be good at your craft. Be humble. Be humble.
Can I ask you a question?
Okay, I'll shut up. Yes.
Oh, no, don't ever shut up. You're great. The question is, I'm gonna reverse what I would usually do. What was your best day on the job? Brian, go first. What was your best day on the job?
So that would probably be in Iraq. A guy that I was working with in my platoon got catastrophically injured. Where very questionable whether he was going to survive or not. We got on him quick. We rendered aid. We got him set up for the evacuation. Got him to the 28th Combat Support Hospital with a pulse. And the people at the 28th Combat Support Hospital, the Baghdad ER, were unbelievable. If you dropped somebody off with a pulse, their chances of coming out of that hospital were incredible. But at the end of the day, I got to see, and I got a lot of credit for him surviving, and he did live. And he came home and got married and has had children. Incredible story, incredible man. And I got a lot of the credit for his survival. But at the end of the day, it was my chance because we had worked together. I mean, I came there as a medic, but I was already a paramedic. I had already been on Chicago Fire. I was very unusual for a entry-level type military medic. And I worked militantly, for lack of a better term, with my guys. And we worked hard in our pre-deployment workups. We worked hard in all our stuff. And we had all the strip maps. We had all the radio stuff done. So every time I turned around and asked for something, it was already there. Like, I need a stretcher. Doc, it's right here. I got it. Hey, it's taken care of. Like, everything, we flowed like a well-oiled machine because we had drilled it. So at the end of the day, his survival wasn't really my doing. It was the team working together. And if I did deserve any credit, which I don't take any for, it's the fact that I inculcated the mindset that this is going to happen to us. And when it does, we get one chance to do this right. You know, we always talk about, you know, Mickey Mouse, not your friend. Like the number one thing that separates survivors from fatalities is time on target between injury and definitive care. And time is the fire in which casualties burn. I beat this into my guys. And when the time hit the, you know, when the rubber hit the road, my guys were on board, and we had him up and out into the 28th Combat Support Hospital so fast it was eye-watering. And that was probably my best day, because somebody that I knew, that I liked, that I loved, I got to be part of that mechanism that saw him from being in a position where he had an excellent chance of not surviving to literally going home. Two of the coolest moments of my life. The number one coolest moment of my life. My wife gets mad at me that she's not more involved in this, but the number one is when I held my son for the first time. She thinks my wedding should be in there, whatever. Number one, coolest moment of my life, holding my son for the first time. I left my wife at home, like 5 months pregnant, came home to a 10-month-old kid. Oh, my deployment in Iraq was during her pregnancy. I got home for like 2 weeks when he was born, a little bit prematurely. I was not there when he was born, so I got to hold him afterwards. 3 or 4 days after he'd been born, I got to hold him. Number one, coolest day of my life. Number two was watching this guy walk down the aisle on 2 fake legs and get married. And I was way in the back as they're walking out with their whole thing, and they're saying, you know, whatever. The look on his face that he gave me when he walked past me and gave me a hug, walking down the aisle on those 2 fake legs, best day of my life. The day that we were in Iraq, Iraq was the best, worst year of my life, and that was the best, worst day of my year that I was over there. That was my best right there.
God, so eloquent. Thank you for that. Was so eloquent. You, Andy, best day of your job.
I don't know. I have one. I certainly don't want to top that. I don't think I can. I'd see. You have me teary-eyed. That's amazing. I think, and I know Liz and I have talked about some different stories. Just anybody that comes back, I have to say some of the proudest moments with, you know, some of my uniformed personnel that were critically injured. Like you said, just guys that I trained that it might as well have been them as the medic, you know, and there's definitely guys alive because of them, you know, that I could do my magic. And I will say, I'm going to take away your humble pie for a second. That soldier is alive because of you, because the team, because of what you were there, you contributed, and you gave the hospital something to work with. It wasn't his day, and you made sure that it wasn't his day. And I think that's incredible. I had one real heartwarming story. I know I've told Liz before. It actually breaks me up. I was working a detail at a concert, ironically at Yankee Stadium, for a very large band of old Pink Floyd, Roger Waters, there I said it. And I had 2 drunk guys that are intoxicated come up to me. They came in, how are you? Thank you. I'm like, hi, okay. They're like, you don't remember me, do you? And I'm like, I'm sorry, I have no clue who you are. Like, man, you saved my life. I'm alive because of you. You know, it was in a terrible part of Queens. He was losing the battle to a bad guy pretty badly. He had just about given up mentally as he told me the story. And he's like, I just remember hearing your big footsteps coming down the hallway, and you just ripped that guy off me. And I'm not really sure what happened to him. And that this guy remembered me just for contributing, that he was able to be at a concert and drink and just hold this face, you know, in his mind. It just floors me, absolutely floors me. It's so incredible to be a piece of so many amazing stories. And I know you have a million amazing stories, and it's hard to pull them to the top. It really is.
Sorry, guys, I'm plugging my computer in.
I thought, okay. I thought I got muted. I'm sorry.
No,
Oh, no.
no, that's a great story.
Going.
Yep. That's and there are, but you know, unfortunately for us too, for every good story, there's a bad story. There's one.
Yes.
You know, and I remember, here's one of the things I teach young medics as well, especially guys that are going to be in special operations like SWAT or, you know, whatever else, is the old, you know, my wife's a MASH fan, so I'm a fan of the TV show MASH, and there's a scene in there where Hawkeye Pierce, if you're familiar with the show, his friend gets killed. And he's very upset about it. And Colonel Blake is the commander of the hospital. He's trying to talk to Pierce, and he goes, "Look, man," he goes, "I don't know." He goes, "All I know is that what they taught me in command school." And he goes, "And they taught me that there are 2 rules in war. Rule number 1 is that young men die, and rule number 2 is doctors do not change rule number 1." And I tell people that, you know, you're going to try to do your best. You're going to put your best out there each and every time, but at some point, it's beyond your capabilities. And you have to accept that now, for your own mental well-being, that unfortunately there are empty seats at the table. We will go to funerals and we will lose people, and it's horrible to do so, but you have got to commit yourself to the fact now that you do everything you can do, and then you have to leave it on the table. And if you figure out how to do that, let me know. I've done my best with that, with losing people and losing stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I mean, that's another thing that we try to teach people as well. Because for every good day, there's a bad day, and they can grind you down. And sometimes you get into those streaks where, you know, for New York, EMS, I love Bringing Out the Dead. That movie's got some great lines, and I'm a movie guy, so I'm not getting kickbacks from these guys for their movies or whatever else. But I know he talks about that, you know, how, you know, when you save a life, you're walking 6 inches off the ground, and, you know, magic sunbeams are coming out of your pocket, but you lose somebody. You know, they say that victory has 1,000 fathers, but defeat's a lonely bastard. And it's the same way when you lose somebody. When you save somebody, everybody's giving you high fives and pats on the back, and it's a great day. When you lose somebody, man, you got to carry that weight, and you got to get used to it, because at some point it's going to happen. And it's even harder, like you said, when you mentioned, you talked about this earlier, that, you know, for us as medics, as or police officers or whatever, we build cushions. We distance ourselves from the people we work with or the people that we arrest or whatever. But again, you know, I was not, you know, the beat cop you were. I did not do a lot of the stuff you did. I had a stint on the West Side, and then I've been either training or SWAT my whole career. Again, I've had a horseshoe up my rear end. Super lucky that way. You know, but that's the thing, is that you just get used to the idea. You not get used to the idea of that, but you're going to have a lot of, you know, a lot of bad days that are going to come out of there, and you gotta figure out how you're going to deal with those days as well.
Can I ask
So,
about this? I'm sorry, Andy, I'm gonna have to interrupt.
yeah,
So we've just breached into moral injury, right? I mean, moral injury is a real thing in this field, right? And so, how do you deal with moral injury, Andy?
all right. So I was just actually going to highlight, I was going right down the path you wanted me to. There's going to be good days, like Brian said, and there's going to be bad days. You know, sometimes you're going to have a run of bad days, which is really unacceptable, but nobody wears that cape that they think they have. Like, I don't have the full head of hair and the little curl standing on the mountaintop with the cape coming off. For the non-providers, I know we associate it as black humor. Everybody thinks we're out of our mind, but you can't die with the patient, right? Whether you know them personally, whether you don't, there are other people that depend on you. Not only for your medic or law enforcement needs, but for your dad needs, for your mom needs. And it's hard sometimes to put it on. We look at, you know, mental stability, mental health. You know, everybody tells us how crazy we are, right? Oh, I could never do that. But you could. You can put whatever you put your mind to. And it's just dealing with it and adapting with it. And I think too often, and I'm sure you do too, like, here's my phone, man. You know, however, if you go to your critical stress debriefing, if you want to call your buddies, I like going to my buddies. I want to call Brian, you know, because he's had that same horrific job or some derivative of. He'll understand. You know, my ex-wife, like, what do you mean you left the garbage can out? You know, that's the biggest problem that she had, you know, going on. And you're bringing out stories, and you can't let it climb under your skin. You have to release it. You can't let the demons attack you so badly when you have a horrifically mortal injury, whether it be to a stranger, to a coworker, to a uniformed fellow of service. You have to be able to talk it out and realize if you need help. Realize that everyone is here to support you. You know, you can't look past that point. And we forget sometimes that we are human, and it does hurt us. You know, we put on, like Brian, you said before, you know, we put on that face to just, you know, walk into the next job like everything is great. And I always looked at, I try to teach the guys, when you make that stretcher, it should look like it's a brand new stretcher and nobody ever laid it before in their life. They don't have to know the last guy got shot 19 times, or Mrs. Johnson, you know, didn't make it after you trying your best efforts to work her up, you know, work the Omega code. It should look pristine, right? That they're the first ones ever getting in there. But you're still that same provider that's there. And when you go home at night, it can be hard at times, right? Sometimes you can just shake it off. Other times it's hard. And you got to realize when the burden is becoming heavy, because it's an us, it's a team, it's not a solo thing. We see things that no other human being should see on a regular basis, right? And that probably fries our mind. It's how you deal with it, but nobody has to deal with it alone. Brian, your thoughts? I'm sorry.
No, powerful, and I agree. I just, and I can address this more from the law enforcement standpoint now, and that to a certain degree, we're really in a perfect storm for law enforcement, just being in a horrible, horrible place. A lot of police officers feel like the profession is disrespected and despised and looked down upon. They feel like they don't have the support of their elected officials. Sometimes they even have the support of their command staffs, things along those lines. So it's just multifactorial that cops are being called upon to do more and more things. It's not just being a police officer and arresting people. You're a lawyer, you're a counselor, you're a medic, we train all of our officers in the Chicago Police Department all carry IFACs, and they've all been to a very good training program to teach them how to use it. And we are now obligated to render aid. So now it isn't just a matter of securing the scene. Our cops are getting their hands dirty as well. So you're just in this environment where when we deployed to Iraq, everybody had the date we were going to go home tattooed to their eyelids. You're deployed to Chicago or New York for the next 25 years. Like, there's no pulling off the line. There's no going back home again. There's not a lot of rest and refit. Departments, money and time on target for bodies is incredibly stressful. They push and push and push. You're out there and you're working, overtime, mandatory for Chicago. It's mandatory days off over the summer canceled, 12-hour, 16-hour days, day in and day out, with people treating you like garbage a lot of the time. And then the things that you do wind up seeing and do wind up doing and wind up being part of. And then you're bringing that home with you, but you can only bring part of it home with you, because people, one of the worst questions, so there's two questions that you get asked in two separate professions. Number one in Iraq was, did you kill anybody? Don't ever ask anybody that question. And then number two, any medical professional, what's the worst thing you've ever seen? Don't even ask me. I don't want to think about it. And frankly, you don't want to know about it, because it's probably something you've never thought about. But after I tell you about it, you're not going to stop thinking about it for a while. But we come home, and the point of this story is that I don't, and you were talking about you don't tell stories. I don't either. A lot of people don't, because I see the things I see, and I went to the places I went so you wouldn't have to. I didn't want my son, I didn't want my wife, I didn't want my family to know those things. So it becomes difficult to talk about them, because you don't want them to see the world that you've seen. You want them to be protected and safe, and it becomes difficult. And then, on the law enforcement world, we train people from day one in the academy. Who do you trust in the academy? Who do they tell you in the academy? Who do you trust? Nobody. And God we trust. Everybody else, show me your friggin' hands. We train them to be absolute monsters about dominance of a scene and control of everything. And that only works on the street. It doesn't work in the station. It doesn't work at home. You can't do that, but you drill this idea into this head where you are in control of everything. And then we put you in a position where you trust nobody. We drill into your head, and it's tactically very effective, but it doesn't work well. Then you're lone wolves. Like, being a fire guy was cool, because you'd go in the morning, you'd sit at the table with the other guys on the engine company and maybe the truck company, and you drink some coffee and you talk and you go do your drills. You'd go on a bad call, you'd come back, you'd talk about it. Man, as a cop, it's just you and your partner. If you're lucky, a partner. And then we inculcate, we drill into your head that you're this lone wolf, that you are capable of handling everything on your own, and anything else is considered weakness. And then why do you think so many police officers kill themselves? Chicago, I think there's been 5 emails I've gotten this year about police officers who've killed themselves. I've known personally more police officers who've ended their own lives than have been killed through enemy action. So you've got this perfect storm of events, and the worse things are at home, the worse they get at work, the worse they're at work, the worse they get at home, and you get into this vicious cycle of
Cycle.
people
Yeah,
who
it's a
literally
cycle.
who
Yes.
literally and they literally don't know where to go. They don't know who to talk to. We stigmatize it, although we're getting better about it. And at the end of the day, what I think is, I don't have I'm not a big name. I don't have a book. I don't have a program or whatever else. But what I teach people is, the grassroots, boots in the ground, man, forget what the superintendent's going to do. You can't wait for other people to save you. It's that patch, expect self-rescue. Help is not coming to a certain degree. And we take care of each other. Like we inculcate into our team, into our squad, into our district or our precinct or whatever, that we take care of each other, that we look across the table. And if you see somebody who's having problems, if the whole thing at the airport, if you see something or hear something, say something, you can break that down to saying something to your teammates, to your friends. Are you your brother's keeper? Are you your sister's keeper? I say, yes, you absolutely are. Here's what I tell people. Andy, if you saw me lying in an alley, shot, pinned down by enemy fire, you would come get me. You would come get me. You and your teammates and my teammates will do everything to come get me. If you're going to do that, then why would you leave me in the locker room? Why would you leave me in the locker room? When you see I'm broken up, I'm busted up, I'm having problems, why would you leave me then? So I think that we can expect better out of our senior leadership, out of all those sort of things. Chicago, we've been working on it. Our peer support folks are awesome. They are understaffed. I get it. It's a financial problem or whatever else, but I can't wait for them for rescue. I'm going to take care of my guys. We have to take care of each other. And I think just being a good teammate it's not just when you're stacked up on a door. That's a great place to be a great teammate, but we have to be teammates for each other all the time. Amen. And that's what my thought on this thing is that we got to take the bull by the horns at our level, and we got to make it happen. And then we take whatever the chain of command gives us, and we use it to good use. But at the end of the day, I think that's where we need to change things, is that we need to make sure that people know that there is a path to wellness, that there is no shame, that you are going to come back as a better husband, a better wife, a better father, a better mother, a better teammate. You are going to come back better. You're not a less of a person. We all throw bricks in our backpacks through our whole lives. Some of us can carry those backpacks forever. Other people can't. When the backpack weighs too much, and for every one guy that I know that's put a pistol in his mouth, I've known 5 or 6 that have drunk themselves to death, drugged themselves to death, cheated themselves to death, ruined their lives. Some of them ended them quickly in their basement, and some of them did it 15 years later in a bar. Regardless, we have to do better for us. And I feel like that, for me, is my contribution to this thing. Being the boots in the ground guy who's never had any high rank or position or whatever, that's what I can do. Like one thing I do with my team, and I'm fist bumping. I come in the morning and I fist bump everybody. The guy behind the desk, the K9 guy, the bomb tech dude. I think guys think it's a little funny sometimes. I don't have like a fist bump fetish. At the end of the day, at one point in the last 10 years, there's been a guy who felt like crap, and somebody was happy to see him when he came in the morning. And that may be, if that's all the medicine I render on a daily basis, that's a good day to me. But
that is medicine. That is medicine.
100% it's medicine. Psychological first aid on a combat wounded patient, or psychiatric initial first aid on our friends and neighbors who are taking wounds every single day. Our job to take care of them as well, take care of each other. And that's what my take on that whole thing is. I think that's where we need to go. That's what I can do. I can shake my fist at the chain of command forever.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. That passion is insane. Andy, your thoughts on that? Wow.
I agree with everything. Brian. I think it's mandatory. It's such a powerful line. I'll take it one step over, because I can't overstep your amazingness. I lost a few. We had the first line of duty death in EMS. I don't like mentioning names. Died in the line of duty. Drunk driver hit the back of the ambulance while they were loading a patient. The first cop I lost in the precinct in Brooklyn, I always promised myself and going into it that I always say hello and goodbye, because you never know, God forbid, that might be the last time you see them. And he had just spoken with me that morning about doing a favor for him, and he was shot and killed when they were taking apprehension of a perpetrator later that day. They got into a standoff, the perp shot, it hit his shield, ricocheted up into his neck. He succumbed of his injuries at the hospital. And an amazing guy, one of my mentors as a young cop in the precinct, and amazing like everybody else, should have never been deceased. But I always looked at it that way. And like you said, just that confidence of caring for them, even if you have no medical training. And I love that you guys have the IFACs, save yourself. You can't save anybody if you don't save yourself. But just looking up and seeing that face, God forbid it's mine, knowing that there's comfort, that it's there, that you care. You care when there's nothing going on. Now, when there's something going on, you super care. And you don't just talk the talk, you're actually going to walk the walk.
Yep.
I had a sergeant that used to break my chops in my squad in Manhattan. He loved my bedside manner. He'd be like, you know what? If I'm shot, you're the only face I want to see hanging over me. Any other time, go away. And I was always unsure if that was a compliment or a hit. But,
probably both.
Yeah, he was good. I still keep in touch with him. He was a great guy. He was a Marine. He was a Marine boss and one of the most amazing leaders I've ever had in all of my careers. What an awesome man.
Yeah, I just think it's one of those things you have to. We got to own it. We got to own it. It's us. The same way that we take care of each other, tactic. We take care of each other. And making sure that if somebody calls you 2:00 in the morning, know what to do. You know what I mean? Because I'm one of our peer support guys. I'm the medic. I'm kind of that guy. I've got a fair number of calls like that, and you got to be. And I have not only been the recipient of that call, I made that call. I called a buddy of mine. I made that call. I had to call a buddy of mine and be like, "Hey, man, I need some help. Like, I'm in a bad sort of place." And it was 2018, kind of bad place. A lot of stuff going on. Kind of a lot of stuff crescendoing in my life, and I kind of got to a point where I was like, I'm not real comfortable with where I'm at anymore. Like, I don't know what's going to happen next. So I called up a friend of mine that I knew, who was a sergeant on the department at the time. We've been friends since the academy, and I know he had some mental stuff go on. And I was like, "Listen, man, I need some help. Like, I don't know." And he's like, "Listen, and he was perfect. He was like, "Man, I got you, brother. I hear what you're saying. Are you okay right now? Do you need me to come there right now?" I'm like, "No." And he goes, "Are you gonna hurt yourself? Or you do have a plan?" I'm like, "No, man, it's not like that." He's like, "Okay, I gotta ask." And man, he had a dude, a clinician that took our insurance, linked me up with this guy, got me through this whole thing, and I talked to this guy for the better part of a year. And that's where my personal, and I only tell this story to not make this about me, but because I think it's important for people to see that it didn't make me, it made me a better person. The time I spent on that made me better than I was before. And if I can do it, anybody can do it. Like, literally, if my knuckle dragon can't come my ears twice and get the same number, super ego, hua, whatever guy, I can do it. You can do it. And that's the only reason I tell that story. And so now I'm especially, and the fact of the matter is, the ironic thing is, nobody on my team knew that I made that phone call. So I had such a good game face. I was always, and that's the thing, that people who watches the watcher, you know what I mean? I'm always trying to be that guy that's fist bumping, patting everybody in the back, whatever. I'm always that guy. And you don't know I'm dying inside sometimes. But I was lucky that I had the right guy that I knew, and I realized it was time, and I made the call. But again, keep an eye on people. There's nothing wrong with checking on people and, everything else. And I'm going to tell you, here's another story I'm going to tell you. And this isn't to like really crap on anybody, but if there was a guy when I was a homeroom instructor, one of my recruits, super good guy, military dude, the whole 9 yards, right around New Year, wind up killing himself.
Sorry.
Called his ex-girlfriend, said, don't let him kill my dogs. I'm going to be in the basement. My dogs will be locked up upstairs, and hung up the phone on her. Heard about it when I came to work. Hey, did you hear this guy, this dude? I'm like, oh my God, I talked to him 2 days ago. And I'm like, oh, call me if you need anything. Sometimes that's not enough. I mean, I'm fine with people putting on your Facebook, whatever. Hey, if you ever need anything, here's my phone number. Call me. Got to be more proactive than that.
Yes.
Got to look for people. Got to look for, and we didn't work in the same place, so I still feel guilty. But it wasn't like I saw him every day or whatever. But I'm still like, man, I should have done better than just telling him, call me. So now I'm very proactive in this sort of thing with the guys. Like, hey, man, you good? You okay? What's going on? Everything all right? And, sometimes guys are like, screw off, I'm fine. Sometimes guys are like, nah, doc, I appreciate it. But sometimes that guy who tells me you screw you 2 days later at 2 o'clock in the morning is calling me on the phone. So I like for people to be a little more, if you want to be responsive to this sort of thing on the team, just passively putting the message out there is fine. But when you see somebody who's hurting, reach out, be that guy. Because sometimes that's all it takes, whatever the verbiage is, you need to let that person know that you see them and that you care about them. And sometimes that means that's that classic old story that you hear about the kid that was going to commit suicide. And the one kid was super nice to him that one day. And that was what made all the difference. He went home that night, and it's probably a story. I'm not even sure if it's true or not. It probably was to one extent or another, but I've never nailed down the original. But the story was, this kid knocked my books over, and I was going to go home and kill myself, and you helped me pick my books up, and you were super nice to me, and you walked me to the bus. And man, I was like, I'm not going to do it today. And then it wound up being fine. And that person reached out to the other person later. And that's kind of what I'm talking about. And we're talking about just being nice to people out of the blue, because you never know what somebody's carrying in their backpack at that particular day. I'm not talking about being a simp and let people take advantage of you, but you can call people sir or ma'am or whatever, be nice, be polite, be friendly to everybody you meet, because you never know what that person's got going on in their backpack. So that's kind of my take on that whole thing. So.
Oh my gosh.
100%. 100%. You don't even realize the lives that you impact just by being approachable, by being
exactly.
That way.
You'll never know.
Maybe God forbid you did miss something. And like you said, I've had friends. We lost a lieutenant, just had an anniversary a few days ago, suicide. And I spoke with them a few days prior about another problem. How did I miss this? Right? You blame yourself.
Yep.
Like, how could I have missed this? How did this happen? I'm sorry. Don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to go, and not in groups, joking, yeah, play it. No, seriously, man, what's up? You okay? If you want to talk to me, we'll go together. We'll find something else you're more comfortable with. But you can't.
Well, and that's what I tell people. And that's what I tell people too, is you are not. So if you call me, I'm not a clinician. I don't know anything about that sort of thing. I know the basics.
Right.
My job is to listen to you on the phone call. Right? We learn those active listening skills and interrogations and peer support and crisis negotiation. Be that listener. Listen to what they've got to say. But then I got to be your conduit, right? I've thrown you a lifeline. It's my job to tow you now to some place where you can get help. Whether that's, is it an EAP? Is that peer support? No, I don't like the department. I don't trust him. All right, well, you're a vet. Let's go to the VA. No, I don't want to go to the VA. Listen, I got a guy. Like my guy that my buddy put me onto, I put him onto like 5 people. I'm like his pusher. Like, this guy knows my phone number now. He's like, oh, somebody else? I'm like, yeah, somebody else. Be ready to help somebody. Like, I put that guy's kids through college.
Should we talk to you about that? I mean, you're pushing this guy. I mean, is this a problem?
Right. So at the end of the day, that's what you got to do. You've got to be ready. You know what I mean? You got to have your plan in place. And again, it's just like when you clear a room, you don't go, all right, one guy's going to go left, I'm going to go right. You don't, but there's a plan. Like, we're going to go in, we're going to hit our points of dominance, we're going to clear our hard corners, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. You kind of need to have your plan in place. And the other thing is, I'll take you there. Like, I will meet you tomorrow. Are you good? Do you need me to come there now? No, I will meet you in the morning. And I will take you to the VA. I will take you personally to EAP. If that's what you want, I will walk over there with you. I will walk through you with this every step of the way, if that's what they want, if that's what they need. But you got to be ready to do that. Got to do the homework, got to put the work in.
Can't just wear the patch. Stand next to me, you'll never stand alone. It doesn't
Yep.
have to be a battle. It's always a battle.
It's always a battle. Exactly. Yes.
All right, you guys. Oh man, I thank you so much. We are coming up on the end of this time with the podcast, and I just want to say, um, I'm truly choking back tears. But they are tears of joy, but they're tears of just emotional. The conversation, where it went, and how powerful it was. So thank you so
thank you.
much. It's
Thank you.
hard to
Thank you for
find.
having you. What an absolute privilege to speak with you, Brian. Thank you. Thank you for
Likewise.
letting me
Oh my
get the
God.
stage with you, my friend.
Same
Um,
here.
Listen, I'd like for each of you to just kind of give a parting word to our people, and then if you would stick with me, team, uh, and then we'll, when I end it, just stick with me so that we can close it out between the three of us. But Andy, I'm going to ask you to give your last, literally just 2 lines, and then Brian, close it out for us, okay, honey?
Just the overall believe in yourself. Believe in yourself, believe in those around you. Realize the practitioners and performers and operators that you have around you, and pick the ones that you know are going to steer you in the right direction. And that's going to help you climb the ladder. I think that's crucial. Stay tuned, learn a lot. That's it. I'm shutting up. Other than watching my upcoming podcast, my shameless plug, am I allowed real quick?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, all right, I'm sorry. No, serious note, stay there, stay focused. Don't let a bad day turn into a bad week or a bad year. And then hopefully I'll be able to kidnap Brian and watch my own podcast with Flying Aces, the Aces briefing coming soon. I'm sure I'm going to steal along LACC and Liz as a sponsor, so stay tuned and please tune in. Brian, please, what an absolute privilege to be on the stage with you. Thank you, sir.
Same thing here. I feel the exact same way. So my parting thing would be, in fire and EMS, in law enforcement, in the military, just remember there's no small jobs. There's small people, but there's no small jobs. Be ruthlessly excellent in everything you do at every stage. You're never going to be the top dog coming out of the kennel. You got to put that work in. You have to put the work in. It's not always going to be right. It's not always going to be fair. People that you don't like are get promoted or whatever else. But at the end of the day, the person you answer, it's 2 people you answer to in my book, without getting all off the religious thing. You answer to the Lord and you answer to the person in the mirror. If you can answer to those 2 people at the end of your day that you've done what you can do, then you've got nobody else to answer to. So stay strong. I'm for you young folks out there, I'm jealous. Enjoy your careers. It's going to be one heck of a ride. You old dogs, enjoy your retirements. Enjoy your time down. You've earned that as well. So again, I appreciate the opportunity to come out here. It's been great to talk. Thank you very much.
Oh my
Thanks so
God.
much.
Thank you both. Listen, thank you both. And you guys stick with me. Listen, to our listeners at Splints Whiskey, thank you so much for listening today. And thank you so much for your support. Listen, if you want to learn more about what you've heard today from Brian or from Andy, then please reach out to either splintswhiskey.com or to myself, Liz Arts. I'm like all over the place, and I just post things on my spare time, of which I have none, which is why all of us are sitting here. None of you guys do too. We're all sitting here on a really late night. We're not going to say the day or time, but it's late night, and that's because we care about our people that we serve, and that's you. Secondly, please, if you want to reach out to these guys, then I'm going to put their stuff in the feed. Okay. So that way you can reach out and talk to either Brian or Andy if you'd like to. And then that moving forward, please share this with a friend, because the meat and potatoes of this podcast was awesome tonight. And the more we share it, then the more that people will know how they can like fully thrive in their industry, and then secondly, fully be healed if they need help. And that's so important. So God bless. We wish you guys the best of luck. Team, stick with me. And thank you again. We'll see you next week to those listeners of Splints and Whiskey. Have an
Be safe,
awesome,
everybody. Thank you.
Take care. Thank you.
thank you so much, you guys.